Good morning. Just some early morning Vikings talk, just to start this draft week off, and just to give my thoughts on where the Vikings currently stand and the situation as a whole, and some draft picks that I believe that we are just not going to be targeting, despite what the media consensus is saying. Because if you've been around the Vikings for a while now with the new regime, you kind of realize that there are areas where they're right, such as we're going edge rusher. Like last year, some people, the consensus had us as Chop because they thought that as Turner might be going to the Falcons. But we did go edge rusher and we did go JJ, and to nobody's surprise. But if you look at the years prior, that like we'll be taking Will Levis or we'll be taking this guy and that guy, and they just don't have a good sense of where the Vikings are, or the national media just doesn't care to look at what the Vikings say as truth. And speaking of that, I will start with the safety room, because if you paid attention more so to what the coaches and the players are saying, I highly doubt that we're going safety in the first, or if we trade back to the second round. And the reason being, one, we first have to start with the first interview that struck my eyes was Brian Flores. Brian Flores, when he mentioned the safety, when he was asked about the safety room, I don't know if it was last week, the week before, but a name that he dropped that was very interesting to me was Jay Ward, who's been a special teamer. It's been good. And but he's been on the team. He's been learning. And one thing that we can say about our safety room is outside of Harrison Smith, the other ones that's on the team were Cam Bynum, who was a third or fourth round pick, that was a cornerback, switched to safety. Josh Metellus, fifth round pick, took a while, got there. Theo Jackson, who was on the Titans practice squad and was released, and we got him, and we've been developing him. That's how our safety room has been, and which leads me to the next person that I'm going to talk about in regards to the safety room is Harrison Smith. And when we drafted Lewisine, or it was either drafted Lewisine or coming back from the injury Lewisine, they asked Harrison Smith about him, and I believe it was drafted. And he was talking about him. Of course, he ain't going to talk down on nobody, but he mentioned, don't look past Cam Bynum. And this was before Cam Bynum was the Cam Bynum that we know today. But Harrison Smith saw him and was like, yo, don't look past Cam Bynum. He's going to be good. And people kind of blew it off at the time, like, oh, okay, but we got this first round pick. But Cam Bynum won the job. And Cam Bynum, deservedly so, now it's a $15 million man in Indianapolis. And I say that to say this. At the recent Harrison Smith interview yesterday, Harrison Smith said about Theo Jackson, he's a smart player and he's a playmaker. He just makes plays. And when this came out of Harry mouth, with other players, you tend to be like, oh, okay, you're just hyping it up. But Harry doesn't go out of his way to, I don't know who posted it on Twitter, but it was like the stanza long, paragraph long explanation on Harry talking about Theo Jackson. And the reason why I take Harry's words so literal when he talks is because if there's anybody on the team that has the coach's ear, Kevin O'Connell, and has Brian Flores' ear, it's Harry. I think Harry does what he says has a lot of sway on that defense. And if he thinks very highly of Theo Jackson, that is our starting safety. I don't think we'll put a high drop pick on somebody to come in to be the opposite of Harry when he thinks so highly of Theo to be that guy. But I'm not dismissing safety as a whole in the entire draft board, because I look at it as we might get somebody in the later rounds that we can develop to be a more box safety that's more Harrison Smith role, such as Lansom from Ohio State, box guy, get out of tackling, get out to the quarterback, diagnoses the run, plays more in the box than more of a free safety. He's more Harrison Smith. Or if they go really late 7th-round pick, Shiloh Sanders. If you want to talk about the Harrison Smith hitman, or Andrew Sandeo just killing anybody that's coming over the middle, or any running back and just blowing up plays, gonna need to learn to play a little smarter. But as a boss guy, 7th round, maybe 6th, 7th round, can take a look at that. As going more so towards Harrison role, but mainly they look for smarts in the back end. Next, I will say the defensive tackle role. I think that, well, before we get to defense, let's go to cornerbacks. Kevin O'Connell keep telling us, when Brian Flores has a guy that he loves and he has that look in his eye, there ain't nothing that Kevin O'Connell or Kwesi can tell him against getting that guy. And Kwesi's the type of guy that's gonna go and get that guy. And the guy that we're talking about in particular, Isaiah Rodgers. Kwesi said, there's a guy that they identified earlier. KOC said this is somebody that Brian Flores said he's stumping the table for. So he sees a lot in Isaiah Rodgers. And you look at Brian Murphy, we just paid. And Brian Murphy, when talking yesterday, talked a lot about Kai. Said he's going to be there for Kai all step away, going to help get him because he knows the potential of Kai. But he also knows the impact of having an injury and coming back from it, since he did come to us after a back injury and improving and getting it right. So, and not to mention that we did go and get what's my Ohio State boy? Oh man, it's blowing me. But y'all know exactly who I'm talking about as like a development piece. I don't believe they're as big on getting a cornerback early as the general public believes our cornerback room is. Now, of course, we still should get a cornerback because as a Vikings fan, we know injuries happen, things happen. The room wouldn't be as empty as it was if certain things that happened last year. And rest in peace to Kyrie. But that's just not a priority early to get. And speaking of which, we don't really have priorities from the coaching standpoint. I don't believe they look at this team and say, we have to go get that guy. We have to go get that guy because we have a glaring need. And when you say glaring need, you probably think of left guard. But Blake Grandel played well when Christian Darrisaw was there. When he wasn't there, and it was more solo play, you saw the crinks in the armor. I do believe we're going to bring some more competition, and I think they're expecting a jump for Michael Juergens to look to see how he progressed. And there's some other guys, but if you look at a lot of the 30 visits are tackles that project to be guards, which saying that they bring in some competition in. Me personally, Donovan Jackson and Dre Zabel, I love for them to be a Viking round 1 or late or early round 2. But it might not be. It's not a need per se as far as the coaching eyes, but it could be in play. And D tackle. So there is 3 positions that I think is the main source of the Vikings for the draft. One I just went over, O-line, interior O-line to be specific. But when they brought in so many people for the top 30 visits that are tackles projected to be guards that's in the mid rounds, I don't envision them looking at the interior play as the priority of number one. Unless everybody goes off their board and Gray Zabel is just clearly better than everybody who left. And then you go. But I don't believe interior O-line is the top of the board right now. And this might be something that they address in the mid rounds. And don't forget about, there's that rumor that Walter Rouse is projected to kick inside, and they're going to see how that goes. We'll see. I like Walter Rouse. But the two main positions that I see, well, two main and a dark horse. And you're not going to expect this one, but we'll see how it plays out. One, you got D tackle. Yes, we addressed the D tackle, but Brian Flores likes a rotation. He and Kevin O'Connell and Brian Flores, they both talked about playing late in the season, looking at those teams that went to the championship. What do all they have in common? They have rotations on the O-line. On the defensive line. They have people that's coming in. They're energetic. They can just keep getting after the quarterback. We saw it in the Super Bowl with the Eagles versus the Chiefs. The Eagles was on Patrick Mahomes' ass all day. He couldn't do anything. They had rotation guy after rotation guy after rotation guy. They tried to run it. They had big Jordan Davis in the middle. They tried to pass it. They altered out Jordan Davis. They had Milton coming in. They had guys on guys. And that's what you need in the fourth. And you look at even the Washington Commanders, where we got Jonathan Allen from. Go watch the game with Jonathan Allen against the Lions. You might just that watch and just say, he didn't have a sack. He had a couple rushes. But you watch that game, he made the Lions' day miserable. He was probably the best defensive line player on the team in that game. He was very disruptive. And that's where it came out. And it was it helped them beat the Lions and go to the Eagles, who has probably the number one offensive line in the league. And of course, it definitely showed up mainly on the outsides, where the Commanders could be looking at edge rushers to stop the run and the pass, because Saquon was eating the outsides. But interior-wise, they were still playing really well. So, to how their rotation, definitely can see D-line. Second position, as far as top players on the board and not needing needs, and you can see the Vikings drafting, I would have to go receiver. And you might think, I don't care about the Jordan Addison might get suspended. I'm not saying you should draft the guy for 4 games. I'm saying you should draft the guy because you truly believe he's one of the missing pieces to help your offense succeed. And the guy that I'm talking about in particular is Emeka Egbuka. Of course, if Tech falls, get him. But Matthew Golden and Luther Burden, I kind of don't see it with the Vikings. But Emeka in particular is because Emeka might be the smartest receiver in the draft. And I can see Kevin O'Connell looking at Emeka and seeing Cooper Kupp. Just smart, knows how to win, hard worker, constantly going to be improving. And literally, I can see why J.J. McCarthy and Emeka Egbuka, although it was on different, rival teams, I can see why they became friends. Because they are the exact same of football. Go watch those Ohio State games. Go look at those sidelines. Look at Emeka Egbuka talking. Hell, look at the Notre Dame game where he literally is telling the coach and the quarterback, "Yo, that corner over there, he's falling for the bait every time. Once we get in good position, do a go route against him, because he is flat-footed and he is not going to win." And for the game winning play, Jeremiah Smith was lined up against that same cornerback, and what they do, a straight go route. Straight burnt them. But that's how Emeka sees the game. And from my point of view, drafting Emeka is not just, oh, you're drafting a wide receiver 3. You're drafting a wide receiver 2A, 2B. Jordan Addison and Emeka. And I think they will split snaps, especially when you're looking at somebody that is probably the best wide receiver blocking in the draft too. Screens that we have trouble really running, wide receiver screens, Emeka can help with that. Whether you want Jordan Addison to be the catcher and you have Emeka and Justin block, Emeka can help with that. You just want to run a 2 wide receiver set. You have Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, Justin Jefferson and Emeka and Jordan Addison. You can give people more time off and it can flow. But that is my spill on Emeka Egbuka. Love that player. But the last position that it could just be best player available, and people might be shocked if it happens, but I wouldn't be. And it's edge rushing. You can never have too many people rushing the passer, but at the same time, Andrew Van Ginkel is on a 2-year deal. We're going into year 2 of the deal. There hasn't been any talks of an extension, although we expect it to happen. There hasn't been any talks of an extension, and we can possibly see somebody that fall as an edge rusher that shouldn't fall, and they pounce on it. And people might be looking. You will, of course, get the people that say, oh, man, they don't believe in Dallas Turner. I don't believe that. Because I believe Dallas Turner is Andrew Van Ginkel's replacement. Dallas Turner has similar skill sets to Andrew Van Ginkel. He's more athletic than Andrew. Andrew, at this point, is just more experienced, smarter. He knows what to do. But I can see them replacing Andrew with Dallas. Whereas if you get a edge rusher, big, powerful, somebody that you truly believe in, that has a different skill set, that can learn under Jonathan and play for future, and you just keep that big rotation of edge rushers, that might be an option that could be considered. Now, the edge rushing group is definitely everybody got their different rankings, and because of character concerns, this person should be here, but you don't know if you want to draft them. I don't know how their board would edge out. I do know that edge rusher is not entirely out of the question. And it has nothing to do with the people in the building. It has more to do with the contrast and people going out the building. So, be on the lookout for those. I see people talking about tight ends. I don't see it until like the later rounds. Like TJ Hawkinson's contract is like for another 3-4 years. I don't see him going anywhere. We would definitely get another receiving tight end, but not somebody that's going to really pressure for a starting job. So somebody later on, starting job this year. And then interior linebacker, we've when it comes to 30 visits, it's really nowadays it's more about questions. You have questions about a person, you want to fall in love with them, but you got questions, so you bring them in. We didn't bring in Jahad Campbell. I think Jahad Campbell was on the table. If we wanted to look at interior linebacker, we did bring in Carson Swessinger. And I think they had questions about Carson. And I do believe they will fall in love with Carson. But I don't know. I think Carson is more so of we trade back into the early second round. And then everybody that we expected to be there is not there, but Carson is there. So I can see them picking Carson at that point. And I wouldn't be mad at it. I like Carson Swessinger. I think him, Ivan Pace, and Bro, what? This is early morning, man. You know, you gotta get your mind right, gotta get sharp. Because how am I forgetting our linebacker one? Y'all know exactly who I'm talking about. But there'll be a good trio. And then if our linebacker one, who for some reason I cannot think of the name right now, gets injured, I think Carson can step up to be that mainly coverage role and help out. But those are my thoughts on this Monday morning. Leave a comment if you have any other theories about any positions that I might be missing or you disagree. Let me know. But I'll catch y'all later.